Crisis of Peace, George Washington, the Newburgh Conspiracy, and the Fate of the American Revolution by David Head. A Crisis of Peace presents a vivid narrative of the Newburgh Conspiracy of 1783. It represents the finest account we have of the critical phase of the Revolutionary War following the Siege of Yorktown. Head's lively narrative thrusts the reader into Philadelphia taverns, Continental soldiers' huts at Newburgh, and the headquarters of Generals Washington and Gates, who were managing the army in the waning year of the war. Intriguingly, he deflates the notion of any Newburgh conspiracy in 1783. Head argues there is little evidence of a conspiracy where army officers were plotting to use military force to coerce Congress into paying their salaries or pensions. Instead, he suggests there was a chain of misunderstandings and accidental timing occasioned by rash and uncoordinated communication by officers that violated the chain of command and provoked Washington's intervention. Even if events at Newburgh contained far less danger of military coup than we've traditionally believed, Head nonetheless puts Washington's astute political leadership front and center throughout this gripping and important book.
Well, what intrigued me at first to the story of the Newburgh conspiracy was the realization that this was a kind of founding fathers mystery. It wasn't exactly clear what had taken place along the Hudson River in March of 1783, when possibly the officers were poised to rebel against their leaders in the army and maybe against their civilian leaders in the Continental Congress. I looked for more information. I looked for what scholarship existed on the story, and I found that the latest scholarship was from the early 1970s. Well, that's a long time ago now. And so I thought that if I looked into this, I might solve the mystery, or at the very least, I could tell the story anew and find something fresh and different about what had happened during that pivotal event at the end of the American Revolution. Another thing that attracted me to the story was that it took place during the very end of the American Revolution. There's a kind of weird 2-year period that ensues after the American victory at the Battle of Yorktown in the fall of 1781. It's another 2 years until the fall of 1783 before the final peace treaty arrives and we have the real lasting peace. But I always wondered, what was it like to live during that period? What was life like? What challenges were faced? How do you go about daily living when there's not peace, but there's not really war either? You're kind of stuck in between. So that had always fascinated me as something that I usually skipped over as a teacher, going right into the Articles of Confederation and the story of the Constitution. But those 2 years of people living, not knowing what the final outcome of the war would be. So I was really happy that I was able to tell that story, talk about the challenges that were faced at the very end of the American Revolution, how Washington and other leaders met those challenges, and how they brought the revolution to a successful, peaceful conclusion at its very end.